the smartest way to deal with toxic people. Hello friends, today we are talking about something very important, how to deal with toxic people in our lives. We all meet them, people who drain our energy, who criticize unnecessarily, or who bring negativity wherever they go. The challenge is not just to avoid them, but to handle them wisely without letting them disturb our inner peace. Imagine a garden. Your mind is like that garden, and toxic people are like weeds. If you allow weeds to grow, they will spread and take nutrients from your beautiful flowers. But if you remove them carefully without uprooting your flowers, your garden can flourish. Similarly, when dealing with toxic people, we must not let their negativity enter our minds. Sometimes toxic people can't change, and you can't change them either. But what you can change is your response. There's a story I like to share. A king had a wise minister who always remained calm, no matter how rude or aggressive the king's enemies were. One day, the king asked, "How do you stay so composed?" The minister replied, "I cannot control the words of others, but I can control my own heart." That is the essence of dealing with toxicity. Another practical example, suppose a colleague constantly criticizes your work. Instead of responding angrily, pause, listen, and respond with calm facts. Sometimes silence is more powerful than argument. By not letting their negativity affect your peace, you protect your energy and maintain dignity. So, friends, the smartest way to deal with toxic people is not to fight them, not to hate them, but to keep your mind strong, your heart compassionate, and your energy protected. Life is too precious to let others steal our peace. Remember, the best way to deal with someone toxic is like handling a hot coal. You don't throw it back, you carefully put it down. Our mind is like a serene lake. When the waters are calm, they reflect the sky, the trees, the sun beautifully. But even a small stone thrown into it creates ripples, disturbing the reflection. Similarly, toxic people, harsh words, or negative environments are like stones thrown into our mental lake. If we allow these disturbances to affect us, our inner calm, clarity, and joy get disrupted. Protecting your inner peace doesn't mean ignoring the world. It means refusing to let negativity dominate your mental space. It is a conscious choice to maintain calm even when the outer world is chaotic. Inner peace is not a luxury, it is a necessity. When we allow negativity to creep in, it slowly erodes our confidence, drains our energy, and clouds our judgment. A person who loses peace easily becomes reactive, saying and doing things they later regret. By consciously shielding your mind, you create a mental boundary. This boundary does not make you cold or distant. Instead, it gives you the space to respond wisely. Imagine wearing a raincoat in a storm, not to stop the rain from falling, but to stay dry and comfortable. In the same way, protecting your mind ensures that external negativity does not soak into your soul. To guard your inner peace, self-awareness is crucial. You must notice what affects your emotions and recognize when someone is trying to disturb your mental balance. Toxicity often comes subtly: sarcastic remarks, unnecessary criticism, passive-aggressive behavior. If you are unaware, you absorb these like a sponge. Awareness is like having a security system for your mind. The moment you notice someone's negative influence, you can choose not to internalize it. Awareness allows you to filter experiences, keeping only what nourishes your mind and letting the rest flow away. Boundaries play a vital role in protecting your mental space. Healthy boundaries are like fences in a garden. They do not isolate you from the world, but they prevent harmful elements from destroying your growth. You may not be able to stop toxic people from speaking or acting negatively, but you can decide how much space they occupy in your thoughts. This could mean limiting interaction, staying polite but firm, or simply refusing to engage in arguments that lead nowhere. By setting clear boundaries, you preserve your energy and maintain the calmness that helps you think and act clearly. Another essential aspect is practicing mental resilience. Inner peace is strengthened through small daily habits: meditation, mindful breathing, gratitude, and positive reflection. When your mind is trained to focus on what matters, negative comments or toxic behavior have less impact. For example, if someone criticizes your work unnecessarily, instead of reacting emotionally, you pause, breathe, and remind yourself of your abilities. This mental resilience acts like a shield. Over time, the mind becomes so well fortified that even repeated negativity cannot penetrate, leaving you calm confident and unshaken. Forgiveness is also a profound tool to protect peace. Holding grudges or replaying someone's hurtful words in your mind is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. By forgiving, not necessarily for them but for yourself, you release the burden of negativity. Forgiveness does not mean accepting bad behavior. It simply means choosing not to carry the emotional weight. This lightness allows your mind to remain serene, focused, and joyful, even in the presence of toxic influences. You essentially decide that no one will steal your inner calm. Finally, protecting your peace is an ongoing practice. Life will always have challenges, difficult people, and unexpected events. But by consciously guarding your mind, setting boundaries, cultivating resilience, and practicing forgiveness, you ensure that your inner lake remains calm, reflecting the beauty of life rather than the chaos around it. Remember, external circumstances cannot control your inner world unless you allow them to. The smarter, wiser, and ultimately happier choice is to keep your inner peace sacred, because it is your most valuable treasure. One of the greatest lessons in life is understanding that you cannot control other people. No matter how hard you try, you cannot force someone to be kind, positive, or understanding. Trying to change others is like trying to control the wind. It will only frustrate you. But what you can control is your own reaction. When a toxic person says something hurtful or behaves negatively, you have the power to choose whether to react in anger, sadness, or patience. This conscious choice is where real freedom lies. When we stop worrying about changing others and focus on our own response, we regain our power and peace. Reacting impulsively is easy but costly. Anger, resentment, or harsh words may give temporary relief, but they rarely solve the problem. On the other hand, a calm, measured response can transform a tense situation into a moment of growth. Consider a story of a bus driver who was insulted by a passenger every day. Instead of retaliating, he smiled and greeted the passenger warmly. Over time, the passenger's aggression softened, not because he was forced to change, but because the driver chose not to react with anger. By controlling his reaction, he influenced the situation positively without losing his peace. Mindfulness plays a key role in controlling reactions. Most of us react emotionally because we are trapped in the moment, unaware of the bigger picture. A pause, even for a few seconds, allows your mind to choose the right response. It's like pressing a pause button in a heated movie scene. You observe, think, and then act. This small practice of conscious reaction creates a ripple effect in your life. You no longer become a puppet of others' words or behavior. Instead, you become the master of your own emotional world, responding wisely and gracefully. Shifting focus from others to yourself is also empowering. Instead of thinking, why is this person so toxic? Or why can't they change? You ask, how do I want to respond? This shift transforms frustration into empowerment. It also reduces emotional exhaustion because you stop carrying the burden of trying to fix what is beyond your control. Over time, this habit strengthens your mental and emotional resilience. You begin to notice that life is far more peaceful when your energy is spent on your growth rather than on attempting to alter others' behavior. Another important aspect is emotional detachment. This doesn't mean indifference or coldness. It means observing without being consumed. Imagine holding a hot iron. If you grip it tightly, you get burned. But if you hold it lightly or let it go, it can't hurt you. Toxic people are often like that hot iron. If we react strongly, we suffer. But if we detach our ego and emotions from their actions, we protect ourselves. Detachment allows you to respond from a place of wisdom rather than impulsive emotion, preserving your inner calm and dignity. Patience is closely connected to controlling reactions. Some people will consistently act negatively, and you may feel tested repeatedly. In such moments, patience acts as a buffer. It allows you to respond thoughtfully instead of reacting automatically. Patience does not mean enduring abuse or mistreatment. It means creating a safe mental space where your mind is not hijacked by external chaos. By practicing patience, Your reactions become intentional rather than reactive, and you maintain control over your life even in challenging situations. Finally, mastering your reactions is a lifelong journey. Life will always present the difficult people and unexpected events. But when you focus on your responses rather than trying to change others, you experience true freedom. You no longer give away your emotional power to circumstances or toxic individuals. Instead, you cultivate strength, peace, and clarity. Remember, it's not the words or actions of others that define your life. It's how you respond to them. In controlling your reactions, you become the captain of your ship, navigating through life's storms with grace and wisdom. When someone behaves negatively toward us, our instinct is often to respond with equal force, anger, sarcasm, or resentment. But reacting this way only adds fuel to the fire. Responding with calm and compassion, however, is like using water to extinguish flames. It does not mean being weak or submissive. It means being strong enough to rise above the impulse to retaliate. Calmness creates clarity, allowing us to see the situation with perspective. Compassion allows us to understand that the negativity often comes from the other person's pain, frustration, or insecurities, not necessarily from us. Think of it like a small child throwing a tantrum in a store. If the parent shouts back, the tantrum escalates. But if the parent speaks calmly, offering understanding and guidance, the child gradually settles. Adults are not so different. Many toxic behaviors stem from personal struggles, stress, or unresolved emotions. By responding with calmness and empathy, we prevent escalation and maintain our peace. We also set an example, demonstrating how strength is not shown through aggression, but through patience and understanding. Compassion is not about excusing bad behavior. It's about seeing beyond the surface. A colleague may criticize your work harshly. A friend may betray your trust, or a stranger may arc rudely. Instead of immediately reacting with hurt or anger, pause and consider why the person is acting this way. Often their negativity has little to do with you and much more to do with their own unresolved issues. By choosing a compassionate response, you protect yourself from emotional harm and sometimes even create an opportunity for understanding and reconciliation. Calmness is a choice, and it requires practice. Our emotions are like wild horses. Without training, they can run out of control. Meditation, mindful breathing, and reflection help train the mind to respond rather than react. For instance, when someone insults us, a deep breath and a moment of awareness can transform our reaction from an angry outburst to a composed, thoughtful response. This moment of calm is powerful. It allows us to act wisely, preserving relationships, dignity, and most importantly, inner peace. Responding with compassion also builds emotional intelligence. When we understand the triggers of others' behavior and respond empathetically, we not only maintain our own peace but also influence the environment positively. Over time, people begin to mirror our calm and compassionate responses. A heated argument can slowly turn into a constructive discussion. A critical remark can become an opportunity for growth. This is the subtle power of responding with empathy. It transforms tension into understanding without compromising our own serenity. Forgiveness and letting go are intertwined with calm and compassion. Holding on to anger or resentment gives power to the negativity, making it a burden we carry unnecessarily. By forgiving, not for the other person, but for our own peace, we release that burden. Compassion allows us to see the human behind the negative action, and calmness ensures we do not get swept away by emotion. Together, these qualities create a protective shield around our mind and heart, enabling us to navigate even the most challenging interactions without losing equilibrium. Finally, responding with calm and compassion is a lifelong practice, not a one-time effort. Life will continually present difficult people and situations, but every moment we choose patience over anger, understanding over criticism, and empathy over hate, we strengthen our inner resilience. We begin to live in a space of peace and dignity, unaffected by external negativity. Remember, responding calmly and compassionately is not only a gift to others, but the greatest gift to ourselves. It preserves our inner light no matter how dark the world around us may seem. Toxicity in life is like holding a hot coal. The longer you hold on to it, the more it burns your hand. Many of us carry resentment, anger, or grudges against people who have hurt us. We think holding on is a form of justice or that it will somehow affect the other person. But in reality, it only harms us. Letting go of toxicity is not about condoning bad behavior. It is about protecting your own heart. When you release the hot coal, you feel relief. The same happens when you release toxic thoughts, relationships, or emotions. You free yourself to live fully and peacefully. Letting go gracefully requires courage. Often, we cling to toxic situations because they are familiar or because we fear confrontation. But courage is not the absence of fear, it is taking action despite fear. By letting go, we assert our self-respect and prioritize our mental well-being. For example, ending a relationship with someone consistently negative or unkind is not a failure. It is an act of wisdom. Like a gardener removing weeds to allow flowers to flourish, we remove toxic influences to allow joy, growth, and peace to blossom in our lives. Awareness is the first step in letting go. We must recognize when a person, habit, or situation is harming us. Often, toxicity seeps in subtly, through constant criticism, manipulation, or draining energy. Awareness allows us to see clearly and act wisely, instead of remaining trapped in harmful cycles. Journaling, self-reflection, and honest conversations with trusted friends can reveal patterns of negativity. Once you identify the source, letting go becomes a conscious and empowered choice, rather than a reaction driven by frustration or impulsiveness. Detachment is essential for releasing toxicity gracefully. Detachment does not mean cutting off all human connections coldly. It means emotionally separating from what harms you. Imagine holding a balloon by a string. The balloon floats freely if you release it gently. Similarly, when you detach from toxic energy with kindness and clarity, you release the tension without creating unnecessary conflict. Detachment allows you to remain compassionate toward others while protecting your own mental space, like a lighthouse standing tall through storms, unaffected by waves crashing around it. Forgiveness plays a central role in letting go. Forgiveness is not weakness, it is strength disguised as grace. By forgiving, we stop carrying the burden of anger and resentment. It doesn't mean we forget or accept wrongdoing, it simply means we choose peace over pain. Holding on to grudges is like drinking poison and expecting someone else to suffer. When we forgive, we lower the heat of the hot coal in our hands until we can safely release it. Our mind becomes lighter, our heart calmer, and our life more joyful. Letting go also requires consistent practice. Toxicity doesn't always appear once and go. It can be recurring, coming from work, family, or society. Each time you choose not to engage in negativity, not to ruminate, or not to carry resentment, you strengthen your ability to release toxic influences gracefully. It is like exercising a muscle. The more you practice, the stronger and more natural it becomes. Over time, letting go becomes a habit, and you begin to live in a state of clarity and inner freedom, unaffected by external chaos. Finally, letting go gracefully transforms your life. When you release toxicity, you make space for positive energy, meaningful relationships, and joy. You no longer carry unnecessary emotional baggage, and your mind becomes a sanctuary of peace. Life becomes lighter, more focused, and more fulfilling. Remember, the smartest way to deal with toxic people is not to fight, suppress, or hate, but to let go with grace, like putting down a hot coal, freeing yourself, and preserving your inner light for the beauty and love that life truly offers.